The following podcast contains spoilers and words such as done and bother.
Mate, did we watch a thing this week?
Yeah, we did.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to We Watched a Thing. What the I'm trying something new. It's fine. It's good. How you doing, my friend?
I was better before that intro, but
You loved it.
okay.
It's fun to say words silly sometimes. Give it a go. Just say anything. Say anything and make it silly.
Anything.
Oh, come on, mate. You got to have fun with your language. It's like when you go to a restaurant, instead of ordering gelato, you ask for gelato.
Oh, yeah?
It's really fun. It's really, really fun.
It's the little things, is it, Billy?
It is. Although, man, that movie sucked. All right. Shall we talk about a movie that we just watched?
Let's do it.
All right. What did we watch this week?
We watched I Care a Lot.
Yes. I Care a Lot is a 2020 American comedy thriller film written and directed by J Blakeson. The film stars Rosamund Pike, Peter Dinklage, Eiza González, and Dianne Wiest. And what is it about, Toph?
It's about a con woman of sorts and one of her jobs going a bit pear-shaped, shall we say.
Yes, we shall.
Weird time for this film to come out in Australia anyway, because we just had a report come out, a big report come out into aged care, which makes aged care seem about as good as you probably thought it was, which is to say, fucking shithouse.
Yeah, that's right. We just had that huge royal commission into it, which was, I would say shocking, but I don't think anybody expected great things out of it. So,
yeah, just elderly people saying, I don't fear death, but I do fear aged care.
Yeah.
I think was kind of the gist. I don't know why there's 8 volumes of the report. I think that would have done it. So it was kind of weird having that just hanging over this film. And you're right. Everything, like you said, it's a, drama, comedy, whatever. I didn't know much about the film going into it.
Yeah, I knew nothing about it. I didn't know the premise or anything before I hit play.
I was expecting at least a decent amount of comedy. And I'm like,
yeah,
I don't know who branded this as a comedy, but we have different ideas about what passes as funny, I think.
Well, yeah, and I guess you could always argue that satire is a form of comedy, and maybe there's a level of satire in the film, but no, I don't think this film is funny in the slightest. I think that Rosamund Pike winning for comedy at the Globes is straight up category fraud.
Just some fucking wild Globes shit.
Like honestly, it's even weirder than The Martian taking it. Like, at least The Martian has some level of comedy in it.
The Martian did have funny moments.
There are funny
moments. Not a comedy, but it did have funny moments.
No, I didn't find anything funny in this film. I found a lot horrifying in the film. I didn't love the film. I'll go out there and say that. And I think that for me, this is a film that suffers very, very heavily from diminishing returns. Each half hour is worse than the preceding half hour until you get to the final half hour, which for me is a bit of a mess. And I know that the film is divisive. There are some that quite like it, and there are some that like the ending. And I guess we'll get there at a certain point. My problems aren't with the ending per se. I just think that this film just gets worse as it continues to go along. But I do think that Rosamund Pike put in a good performance. Do I think it's the best of her career? No.
Certainly not. No.
But I think that she's doing some good things in it.
Yeah, I like Rosamund Pike just as a thing.
Yeah.
I like the Pike.
Who doesn't?
I'm here for it. Yeah, not my favorite Pike. This, not at all. Because like you, don't like this film.
Okay, so right out there, it sounds like you maybe liked it even less than I did. So let's get into it. I actually quite enjoyed the start of the film. I think I was fully engaged in the premise, and I think even though she as a character is horrific, that's one thing I quite like about the film, is that it doesn't... not that I was going to say it doesn't take sides, which is completely untrue. You're not ever supposed to think she's good. You are supposed to be against her side, I guess. But it does just present her as the main character, and it's from her point of view, and that's one thing that I actually quite like about the ballsiness of the film.
Yeah, no issue in having this kind of a character at the center of a film. Unfortunately, as you've already said, it flat out gets less interesting, and I would say just flat out gets worse the longer it goes on. And there is also then, I think, a misguided turn that the film takes, where in the final, let's say, 45 minutes, you are... It really does position you as being on her side.
To try and root for her. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, there's nothing you've done to this point that has me cheering for this character. And that's fine.
Yeah,
she's meant to be a terrible person.
Yeah.
And that's okay. But now you're trying to get me to cheer for her, and why would I fucking do that?
That's right. And here's the thing. There are multiple endings that could have worked. And I don't need it to end bad for her. I don't need the whole traditional, the bad guy gets their comeuppance. I just don't like the turns that it chose. And I think that the film, I actually think there's a really good premise here. And you could see this film working really, really well in the hands of, say, Fincher. And I think that there's a lot of, we spoke about the little things wanting to be Seven. I think that this film wants to be a Fincher film. And the one thing I really like about it is the score, which very, very much wants to be a Trent Reznor score. And I think it works quite well. The score itself does a lot to, drive emotion, and I think it's just quite cool. But it wants to evoke Fincheriness. And I think in hands like that, this premise could really work. But yes, I think that it tried to get too twisty, and I don't like the path that it ended up going down.
Studio meddling has a really bad name. This is a project where I'd love some studio meddling. I would love them to say, look, there's good stuff in this script, but either you need to rewrite it or we need to get someone to rewrite it.
Yeah. So let's get into it.
All right. Well, point one, you can't take a close-up of Dianne Wiest with that lens. That's just fucking stupid. What's the cinematographer doing? How are they not like, mate, she's got a camera with a 24-70. She's not getting a close-up from the other side of the street. This is fucking laughable. Jesus Christ. Does no one care, Billy? Does no one care?
Nobody cares. Nobody cares.
I'm just asking for a bit of, civility in an uncivilized world.
24-105 ain't shooting that far.
It's not doing it. You at least want to be on the 70-200
at bare minimum. Bare minimum.
You're not doing spycraft with a kit lens. It's not happening. Fuck me, movie. Anyway, there's a lot of things in this film that's designed to horrify us.
Yeah,
of course. Is the most horrifying realization that now I know what Hitler would have looked like if he was in a metal band. Peter Dinklage with the aggressive part and big goatee. I was like, wow, real. If Adolf had taken a different path in life and moved to Scandinavia, joined a death metal band, there he is.
Can I ask you something? Is that a fake beard, do you think? It looked very, very fake to me.
I mean, I know Dinklage has game. I
know he does, and like the length looked good. It was where it joins his face that for me I was like, that just doesn't look right. And maybe it's because he didn't have the sideburns, so it looked a little bit detached, but I don't know, it did not look real to me.
I think if it wasn't real, it's very well done then, because it's asymmetrical.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
It was selling it to me.
Okay.
I was here for Dinklage's Hitler metal beard. On that group of characters, did Jared Leto pass on the role of Alexei? Because it clearly just was written in the script, must overact the shit out of this role. Holy hell.
Oh, man. I didn't mind Alexei. I think Alexei's doing what he has to do in this film.
Oh, me.
I mean, you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if that was what was written in the script. Because I don't think this is a very well-written script.
And it said in the margins, need Jared Leto energy.
Yeah. And again, it really disappoints me because I do feel like there's a neat little premise here. And I think, as I said, to me, this was a film of diminishing returns. I think the first half hour actually set things up really well. It established who she was, it established what she was doing, and it established what was going to happen. And I'm a big fan of film premises like this where a character finds themselves in a situation, whether it's through a fault of their own or not. She did a bad thing and she found herself wrapped up in this world of gangsters that she knew nothing about. To me, that is one of the perfected film premises. We've seen it a million times and I love it. I just think it works really well when it works. The problem is that then this is a film that to me feels like it's flying by the seat of its pants. It just seems to be like, oh, and then this happens, and then this, and then this. You know, I read this great advice once that when you're writing a story, you should look at the story and replace all of your ands with buts or therefores. You know, so instead of this happens, and then this happens, and then this happens, it should be this happens, but this happens, therefore this happens. And I don't think that happened at all in this film. It's just a lot of mess.
I was sitting there watching this film last night and I was amazed at how there comes this point in the film where the strings are being tightened, all this stuff is being brought to our attention and coming to light for both us and the characters, and yet somehow the film is getting less interesting by the minute. I'm like, this is actually miraculous.
No, to me, the title of the film should be "I Don't Care a Bit," because I
couldn't give a.
I just didn't give a shit. And again, it's not because she's a bad person. If that was it, to me, it would work. It's just because it's not interesting. And they reached a point where, and as if you're listening to this, you know that we spoil stuff. They reached a point where I thought the film was going to end when they put her in the car, and I thought they had killed her. I don't know why they hadn't killed her. I don't know what they'd done to her. I guess they just pumped some alcohol into her.
Very bad job at killing.
Really, and this is the problem, is that the entire last 45 minutes is just a sequence of conveniences.
I mean, her escaping from that car is just an absolute load of shit.
Fucking ridiculous. And I thought that was going to be the end of the film. And when that happened, when they put her in the car and drove it off the cliff, I was like, okay, maybe the film is going to redeem itself here by having the balls to end like this. And then it doesn't. And it continues to go on. And from that point, it's not even the same story or it's just becomes this weird, almost revenge plot, but then not quite. She doesn't kill Peter Dinklage. And I'm like, well, why? And then he doesn't kill her. And I'm like, well, why? And everything became very convenient, and it very much disappointed me, particularly from that point on.
There's just so much that I did not buy.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, it was happening before then, but certainly from the attempted murder by drowning car onwards. Like, I just don't buy anything going on. Like, to the same extent that I don't buy that these Russian mobsters managed to completely shed their accents. Yeah. Like they're related to Wanda in the MCU or some shit. Like, what the fuck is going on there? Absolute rubbish. There's one cool shot in the film. I'll give it this. It's the first meeting with Alexei and Peter Dinklage in the car park. It's just it's a good camera placement. It's a good bit of staging of how everyone, like, it's a scene where obviously Peter Dinklage has the power in the scene, and the way that everyone's placed and staged so that it's clear that he is in control. And I was like, I wonder, obviously, it's not a secret, Peter Dinklage is a little person. I was like, is that hard to do? And then I was like, well, people have been filming Tom Cruise for a long time. Can't be that hard.
Peter Dinklage has such an amazing amount of gravitas.
I quite like Dinklage in this film.
Yeah, I think, similar to Rosamund Pike, I think it would be hard not to like either of these two. I think they both do the best they can with the material the film presents them. And I don't think it's either of their best performances, but I don't think you can expect the best performance out of someone when they're dealing with subpar material.
And have a Hitler haircut.
The one actress who I do think gives a stellar performance in this film, and we spoke about her only weeks ago in Parenthood, Dianne Wiest is still fucking fantastic. Like, I think that she actually elevates the material on screen. She's the only actor in this film for me who actually does that, who takes a role and makes it something else. I think that she does something brilliant with what she's given in this film.
So I didn't know she was in this, and you'd messaged me saying, hey, you know who still rules? And I didn't know what you were watching.
Right.
So it was a really pleasant surprise when I was watching this, and I was like, oh, cool. Get a bit of the Wiest. Because she rocks. The way in which she is able to act both stoned out of her brain because of medication and yet still venomous.
Yes.
That's quite a tightrope, I would have thought, as a performer.
Yeah, that's right. That first scene where Rosamund Pike goes to visit her in the facility and she's, completely off her face, and Rosamund Pike is like, who is this guy? What's going on? Dianne Wiest has so much power in that scene. It is, for me, the best scene in the film.
Are you a Chris Messina fan?
I actually am. He is the other guy in this film who I think is elevating it. I would like to see a film of just his character, to be honest, because he elevates this film to me a lot.
Just sleazing his way to the top, 80s style.
Absolutely.
He plays a douchebag so well that it's one, like, I think I'm remembering this correctly, that Tina Fey was talking about Amanda Seyfried in Mean Girls and saying that invariably when you need someone to play a particularly stupid person, it winds up being the smartest person who plays them. And I often feel like when I see someone who's so good at playing a douche, I'm like, I bet you're actually a ripping bloke.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's how you manage to like drill into this. And like Messina in Newsroom, he's fantastic in the Newsroom, and it's an absolute flog. And I'm just like, I bet you fucking rule.
It's funny, because even though he's such an incredible douche in this, he also arguably is the best person in the film, really.
Yeah.
Like,
it's not a high bar to clear.
It's not a high bar to clear, but he is one of the only people who is not an absolute piece of shit. And
he is a mob lawyer.
He is a mob lawyer, but I don't know, it's funny. When he's...
Like, it's not great.
No, but when he's arguing against Rosamund Pike in court, and we as the audience know that what he's saying is the truth, that she is an incredible piece of shit, I think that to me is one of the smartest elements of this screenplay, is when it does make you root for people who aren't great people and it feels earned. Like in Chris Messina's case, I think it works. As you say, for the last 45 minutes where it expects you to do that for Rosamund Pike when she is just an absolute piece of shit. Like, there is nothing good about her.
You know what I think is a real... I feel like we maybe mentioned this before with another film, I can't remember what though, where it can be a real sign of how well a film has drawn you in, that if someone's drowning, you find yourself holding your breath.
Yeah.
I was not holding my breath.
No, not at all.
As she was in the car.
It was
not even a little bit. Just did not care.
This was one of the most incredibly long drowning scenes that I've ever seen. And she's supposed to have just been pumped full of alcohol or something, I guess.
Yeah, she's been drugged. Like, they may not have got any booze into her. That may well just be a prop. So let's say she's only been drugged. Well, she then comes to it like this, and has the wherewithal
minutes later
to escape from this guy. Fucking hell.
Like, Russian mobs aren't that dumb. If they're going to drug you, it's going to be strong enough to last more than 2.5 minutes. Like, it's mere minutes after they drug her that she wakes up, has the strength to kick out the glass windscreen, has enough wherewithal to hold her breath for literally what is entire minutes. Like, that was a very, very long time. Absolute shit. And I have no problem suspending disbelief. Like, you've seen some of the trash movies that I've made you watch. I'm the guy who likes Reindeer Games and Sphere. I don't expect realism in my films. But when you establish a universe like this that is supposed to be, I don't think you could make a film like this which has commentary on an element of society and then expect people to suspend disbelief to this level, because to me that takes away any commentary that you're trying to set up. How are we supposed to believe the point of view that the film is taking if we can't believe what is actually happening on the screen? That's my biggest problem with it.
I think my biggest problem was it being deeply uninteresting and me not caring.
Shall we skip to the very, very end? I've seen a lot of divisiveness on the end, and I actually don't know what people are referring to there. I don't know if they're talking about...
I can't believe anyone cares enough.
Well, that's the thing. I don't know if they're talking about the entire last 45 minutes like we are, or if they're actually talking about the end. I was fine with it. I think it's cheesy as fuck to end on a news interview. Like, I just thought, like, the structure of it was poor, but I'm fine with what happened. I think it makes complete sense. Where were you on it?
The structure I actually don't mind. I was watching the film and I was like, all right, Billy and I are going to be talking about this. I need to try and have some level of feeling about it. And I'm sorry, but my overriding feeling is I don't care.
Yeah.
This film just did nothing for me. And so I have no response to it that goes beyond 1,000 on the tacho.
Yeah.
Like, this movie for me stalled 50 minutes in. And like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care. If she got away with it, I wouldn't care.
Yeah.
She got killed, I don't care.
And we've spoken about that before. Certainly to me, the worst thing a film can do is not make you feel. Like, you know, a film can be super entertaining, and that's fine. A film can not really be that entertaining, but still make you think and feel. And, you know, to me, like, last week, Minari is a pretty great example of that. I wouldn't call that an overly entertaining film, but it makes you feel and think, and that's great. This film did neither of those things for me at all. Like, I wasn't entertained, and I didn't care about what it was doing.
Maybe it could have gotten away with it if it was just such style over substance that I was engaged on that level, but I didn't get that from it either. No,
and that's where I think, as I said, I think that it really does. I could almost every half hour feel when a new half hour has started, because it was just getting worse and worse for me. So overall, I ended up on a 5. I thought about going lower, but, you know, for the first half hour, I was like, I'm loving this. This could be as high as an 8. And then it dropped to a 6 and then a 5. And then by the end, I was like, I would feel bad giving this any lower, given how much I enjoyed the start. But I just, by the end, I agree. I didn't care at all.
A 5 or above, I think, would have felt like a betrayal for me. I'm giving it a 4, and to be honest, that feels generous. Yeah. And it probably is mostly rooted in the fact that, yeah, the first half hour, pretty good.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you're far better off having the final half hour be your best half hour. Because, unfortunately, by the time I hit stop on this film, I'd been deeply unengaged for 60 minutes. Yeah. Of a 2-hour film, which should not be 2 hours long.
Yeah, that is completely fair. All right, what are we getting to next week, mate?
Oh, is it time?
It's time! Martha.
That's not even the right film, mate.
It's the right character, though. I know what I'm doing. That's right. We finally get to see... Think back to episode 1, mate, our very first episode of this show, when we spoke about Justice League.
Awful film.
We finally get to see how great that film could have been.
Yeah, Justice League was an awful film. I'm expecting that this is going to be an awful film.
Yeah, look, here's the thing. I do genuinely believe that this will be better than the first one. I genuinely do. I am one of the people... Look, you got to remember that Snyder has made good films. You also have to remember that he's made bad films, because he made other films in the DCEU, which were terrible. But I do think that he has a level of visual flair about him, so I'm expecting it to look nice. I think 4 hours is going to be way too long.
4 hours is going to be tough.
I'm curious as hell. I'm so curious.
I'm not. I can't believe I have to watch this fucking thing.
Here's the only reason I'm curious.
Like, seriously, I can't tell you how much I do not care about the Snyder Cut. And I can't believe that I'm going to lose 4 hours of my life to it.
Here's the only reason I'm curious. And I had this discussion with someone online the other day where they were talking about how excited they were. And I was like, well, I don't want to take away from your excitement. Like, that's fine. Like, I'm not that guy. I want people to enjoy what they want to enjoy. For me, I've said from the start the Snyder Cut didn't exist. And I think we now have proof of that. Like, I think, there have been reshoots. Now Leto's been added in. Only a couple of weeks ago it was going to be a 4-part series. Now it's a film again. Like, to me, I worry that this is all... Like, yeah, sure, maybe he had his idea in his head of what this was going to be, and you could argue that that's the Snyder Cut inside his head, but there was never an edit like this. I just can't see it being good.
It's going to be shit.
Well, we're going to be giving up 4 hours to it, so get excited, mate.
I gave Justice League a 2 out of 10. If this is a 3 out of 10, I suppose that'll be a win. If this is a quite bad film, it will have passed the bar that I've set for it.
Alrighty, well, that's next week. In the meantime, if you're going to get in touch with us, you can do that at wewatchedathing.com or wewatchedathing@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all under the handle @wewatchedathing. If you want to help support the show, you can do that at patreon.com/wewatchedathing, and we'll catch you next week.
Watch a movie, folks.
Watch the Snyder Cut.
Don't watch I Care What.
Yeah, don't. See ya.
Just setting yourself up to fail, calling this what you call your film that.
Yeah.
And then you're deeply uninteresting. You've just really made a rod for your own back.
Very disappointing.
Boo.
Do you reckon the Snyder Cut's going to be better than this?
No.
Finished WandaVision last night, mate.
All right.
Yeah.
Any good?
Speaking of diminishing returns.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it starts out so strong.